Keeping your Monstera in a pot that is just a little too small for him can be the trick to get him to push out new leaves much faster. This is one of the tricks that I'll share in this video so that you can finally have the best Monstera on the block to proudly show off to all your friends and family. So how on earth does keeping your Monstera in a pot that is too small for him help him grow any better? I mean, we hear all the time about the evils of root boundedness, if that's even a word, and how it can lead to the demise of our little green pals. And yes, this is true for a lot of our plants, but not so much for Monsteras. You see, the problem with Monstera is that they love to grow roots. Give them a nice big pot with plenty of soil to grow in and they'll happily fill that bad boy all day long. It'll be ramen noodles aplenty in there, a right little root party. The problem is though that the plant focuses all his energy on producing roots, he forgets about the leaves. And it's the leaves we want, isn't it? Nice big shiny green leaves with tons of slits and holes in that we can proudly share on Instagram. No one is sharing the size of Monstera roots on Insta after all, and if they are, no one is looking. So check out Moni the monster in my bedroom. She's been with me for a good 5 or so years. She was a wee little nipper when I bought her from IKEA, and she's matured into this handsome lass. For the first few years she was growing at a mildly decent rate. Not spectacular, but decent. That was until I decided to put her in this gigantic orange pot that she's now been calling home for about 2 years. The problem is that she's got so much soil around her private parts that she's just content to just sit there and grow roots all day long. The rate of leaf growth has dramatically slowed since I rehoused her. Now I really should downsize her so that I can start to see more leafy growth action, but honestly I think I'd struggle to do that without creating an almighty mess that Mrs. Sheffield won't be best pleased about. Before the Monstera police come out to get me, I'm not saying that we should all be keeping our plants in tiny pots where they become so root bound we have a muting on our hands. This would be unhealthy for both you and the plant and would actually lead to slower growth and all the anguish that brings. But if you give your Monstera tons of room to grow roots, it will do just that. Grow roots and leaf growth will be slower. So what do we do then, Mr. Sheffield? Basically, your Monstera wants to be in a pot that is a little snug as a bug in a rug. Clear as mud, right? Well, for your Monstera to be a little snug, it wants to live in a pot that is just about big enough to fit everything in. For a Monstera this size, you don't want to go this big, or this small, but something more like this. Just enough room to pop your guy in and add some soil, or perlite in my case, on the bottom and around the edges. Any more than this and your guy will panic and grow roots and forget about leaves until he feels nice and secure in his new home. This is even more so if you have designs on training your Monstera up a moss pole. The moss pole will effectively be an extension of the pot, so you can go pretty small so that he can grow roots into the moss pole and size up those leaves nicely. And I'll come back to why moss poles are the cheat code for faster Monstera growth later in the video. The other problem with keeping your Monstera in a pot that is too big for him is that the risk of getting your watering wrong increases and your little fella downs tools. All that extra soil around the roots will take much longer to dry out than the plant would probably like, and naughty things like root rot can start to take hold. The trick with watering any plant is to drench the root ball fully until everything is properly saturated and then letting it dry out quickly to repeat the process again. If there is so much soil in the pot that it's taken an age for the thing to dry out, then we have problems. Monstrous problems. The reason this is a problem with an oversized pot is because of the mismatch in soil to roots ratio. If the volume of roots is enough to fill out the pot, then there isn't so much soil to hold on to moisture. This is good. If we have a couple of roots in a sea of soil, then it's good night Vienna. Not good. Now I've got some nifty tricks to help get your Monstera firing on all cylinders coming up, but first, did you know that I send out planty tips and tricks to my newsletter subscribers completely for free every week? Sign up at newsletter.sheffieldmadeplants.com to join the club. Link is in the description. Right, Monsteras essentially need 3 things to thrive: light, water and nutrients. Get those 3 things bang on and we're halfway there to Monstera success. And for the fastest growth, light really is the biggest factor, my plant friend. Keep your plant in a dungeon and he just won't be happy. I've actually tried it, and you can see the results in the video in the top right corner. But watch it after you finish this one. That'll make the algorithm gods happy. Now, I bet you've been told that you should keep your Monstera out of direct sunlight at all costs. Well, this is not something I really subscribe to. I know, controversial, right? I find that they do pretty well getting a few hours of direct light on their leaves, as long as they're used to it. It's not too strong. I live in the Costa del Sheffield, where the sun shines for a grand total of 3 hours a month during the summer, and my Monsteras love a bit of sun. I jest of course, but just know that the sun isn't too strong around here, and this seems to suit my plants that live in east and west facing spots in my house. Even if you are lucky enough to live somewhere where the sun comes out to say hello on occasion, it can still do well in sun, but you probably need to train your dragon first. This just means acclimatizing him to the sun over a period of a few weeks. For the first week, you might try an hour or two a day in direct sun, and then up that to 2 or 3 hours of sun in week 2 or something. There's no hard or fast rule. This should allow him to become used to getting some extra vitamin D on his skin and not burn like a Sheffielder in the Mediterranean. If you start to notice some fading or yellowing here or there, simply pull him back and reduce the time spent in the sun. You're probably going a bit too fast. It's all about the slow build up. You probably sat there wondering why bother with all this palaver, right? Well, it's because you're a loving plant parent and want what's best for your Monstera. A sun-trained Monstera will grow much faster than one that sits glumly in the shade all day. All that extra photosynthesis will be mwah to your little green mister. You'll also get the slits and holes in the leaves that everyone goes mad for much quicker. If you're not in the habit of believing every fool on the internet, then you can of course play it safe and keep it out of the sun, and this can still work fine. The trick here is to get on your hands and knees and see the world from the point of view of your Monstera. This might sound a bit crackers to you, but it's a game changer, trust me. You're looking to see how much of the sky your little fella can see. Go on, get on all fours and have a look. You'll be surprised. Okay, craning your neck is fine, but just see how much of the sky is available. For starters, if your plant can't see any of the sky because of the walls of your house, then you probably want to move him closer to the window. Then you want to see how many trees, bushes, outside buildings and whatnot are in the way. If there's a whole ton and your poor little guy can't see any of the heaven, then he's not going to grow to his full glorious potential. That is, unless you get a grow light to help out a bit. Now I love grow lights. I've got a growing army of them in my house because, like I say, I live in Costa del Sheffield, so they're pretty much a necessity around here. You might think that you can get away with regular lights you can buy from the store, but honestly, these probably aren't strong enough for our plants. I use Sansi grow lights because they're full spectrum, are nice and bright, and I get great results, and you can bag yourself a 10% discount using my referral link in the description to this video. Well worth a look. You keep your plants happy and you help me earn a penny or two. What's not to love about that? I mentioned moss poles earlier, and honestly, having your Monstera climb up a moss pole is a great hack for faster growth. Now you can stake or support your plant to grow up anything you want, and it will love you for it, from planks of wood to trellises to bamboo sticks. But the thing that will turbocharge growth is moss poles. I say moss poles, but it doesn't actually have to be moss. It could be soil poles. Not quite as catchy as moss poles though, is it? Anyway, I've got this little Monstera growing up this plastic container filled with potting mix because it's a challenge for me to get good moss. Most of the time you see them filled with moss, but if moss is difficult for you to get hold of, try filling them with soil. They're a bit messier, admittedly, but they do a job just fine. So why are moss poles the greatest thing since sliced bread? Because they expand the growing potential of your plant. You'll have no doubt noticed the arrowroot roots growing out the back of your plant. Left to hang in limbo, they won't do much. In their natural habitat, they use these for support to latch onto and grow up the surrounding trees to access the light higher up. Well, if you've ever propagated a Monstera, you'll have noticed that they tend to be the starting point for the new root system of your cutting. And this is the trick. Allowing your Monstera to climb up a moss or soil pole will encourage those arrowroot roots to grow into the medium and develop into roots that can draw on moisture and nutrients. Each node that has a leaf then has its own set of roots, and the plant continues to grow stronger and stronger. Not only does this increase the rate of growth, it also increases the size of the leaves, the maturity of the plant, and the number of slits and holes in the leaves. Yay! I'm pretty late to this party, to be honest, and I've only recently added this Monstera to a pole, but I've already noticed a quicker growth rate since doing so. Something I always bore the viewers of my videos with is the amazing results you get from pruning plants. Pruning the stem of a plant normally produces multiple new growth points and a bushier specimen further down the line. The truth is though, this is something that actually slows down your Monstera, and in the video on the screen now I explain why, so make sure you click on it so you don't set your plant back by mistake. And subscribe for more fun. See you next time.